The Professional and Personal Life of Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff.
I'm Letitia Ferrer, the daughter of Uta Hagen and stepdaughter of Herbert Berghoff.
I'm Teresa Tuscher, the granddaughter of Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff.
We created this podcast to share ours and other stories of life with Uta and Herbert.
We hope you'll join us in listening to these adventures.
On today's episode of The Professional and Personal Life of Uta Hagen and Herbert Berghoff, we have the actress Laila Robins. You might know her already. She studied at Yale School of Drama and also a former actor at the Eugene O'Neill Theatre Company. She was in The Silver Fox with my grandmother. It was written by Donna DiMatteo, a playwriting teacher at HB Studio. It was my grandmother and Lila, along with Kelly Wolfe. And she was also in Mrs. Klein. Lila's here today to talk with us about how the journey started of working with Uta and Herbert.
Well, it's great to talk to you, Teresa, about your grandma and Herbert as well. I mean, I feel like they really changed my life. They changed the trajectory of my career. I think I really got a lot of, validation from the theatrical community because of knowing and working with them.
Did you study at the studio, or were you just invited?
No,
or how did that
I didn't
come
study
about?
at the studio. I went to Yale Drama School, but then after I worked with Herbert and Uta, they invited me to teach at HB.
Oh, okay.
So that was a really
Okay.
neat thing. But basically working with them is sort of like studying with them. So I feel like I did get all of it.
The first show that you did was The Silver Fox?
Yeah, well, actually the first time we met was a reading of Ibsen's When We Dead Awaken in their living room. That's when I first met Herbert and Uta. And I don't know who suggested me to go to their home on Washington Square Park and do a reading of this. And I think that's our first time we ever laid eyes on each other, all three of us. And then after that, Herbert was very excited and they invited me to do The Silver Fox. And we went out to East Hampton on Long Island, and it was called the Drew Theatre back then.
Okay.
And worked on Donna DiMatteo's play. And it was a really wonderful summer. It was very special to me. I mean, I had, studied Uta's book when I was in college, and coming from Wisconsin, I mean, I went to school in Wisconsin and she comes from Madison, Wisconsin. So I just felt there was so many things we had in common because she also had immigrant parents and so do I. My parents are from Latvia. So I just felt all these things that were so synchronistic. So I felt very kind of drawn to her and who she was. I guess I felt I could see my future in her because we had so many similarities that way from our backgrounds.
I was just going to say, so how did that play into you being her daughter in The Silver Fox?
You mean those aspects of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, because of her German background, my Latvian background, there was like a sensibility that we shared. Or I felt just the way she spoke or the way she walked, there was a person there that I recognized.
Okay.
It wasn't like some foreign person. There was some kind of simpatico. It was just automatic and immediate. I don't know. I felt very comfortable with her. Let's put it that way.
I was going to say, how long did Silver Fox run with this cast?
I think it was just a summer gig. I'm imagining it was about 3 weeks, like a 3-week run. I don't remember specifically, but
because I remember I saw it multiple times when it was at the studio, and then you did Mrs. Klein at the Lucille Lortel, another powerful piece.
Beautiful play by Nicholas Wright.
Yep.
He's a British playwright. And I think they'd done it at the studio before this production. And I remember the audition for it. I didn't have any clothes that would maybe suit the period of the piece. So I just decided to put on some clothes that looked like Uta when she did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. And so I had these cigarette pants on and a kind of a blouse. And I sort of told everybody that's what I did when I walked in. And I guess David Richenthal and Billy Carden found that kind of endearing, that
Okay.
that I was trying to be Uta's daughter, just sort of in my clothing as I walked in the door.
Okay.
And I was so excited to get that role. That was like a role of a lifetime. That was really amazing.
I remember that, and I just remember the one line, "And I am Melanie Klein." And
Yes.
that line, the power of that line,
Yes.
and my grandmother, and just the hand up, and I was like,
yes.
it's all
And
right
do you remember
there.
when she threw the glass of water in my face?
I vaguely remember that.
Yeah.
Vaguely. Funny, I saw that play 5 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And there's,
Wow.
I remember the one line, "And I am Melanie Klein." And I was like,
yeah, she can be very ferocious, very ferocious.
Yeah.
And you know, I learned so much during that time because I would come into rehearsal every day and sort of do the lines. She'd say, "Laila, you're doing the lines the same way every day." And I'd say, "Yeah, I've kind of figured out how I'm going to say them." And she said, "Oh, no, that's not acting." I was like, "What do you mean?" She said, "It has to change every day, because if I change, then if you're listening, then you change, and then you change, and then I change. And that's how we're going to keep this thing alive." Because we did quite a long run of it. And she said, the only thing interesting on the stage is for it to be alive. And the only way to do that is to be spontaneous. And the only way to be spontaneous is to properly listen and to let the nuances of your text be affected by what the person before you just said. Yeah. And it was a very basic lesson, but it was something I'd never heard in so many words. So it was a real eye opener for me.
I was just going to say, it's like so simple, but it's so, it puts you in the moment.
Yeah.
Listen, be silent and listen, and let your reaction come out.
Yeah. Come spontaneous, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, we were working with accents, so there were certain things technically that we had to focus on.
Right.
It was also nice because we did 9 months at the Lucille Hotel, and then we took maybe a month off, and then we went on tour. And between the different cities that we went to, we'd have a little chunk of time. And it was so interesting to go back to the play, actually, after having a couple of weeks off or something, or even a week off. You come back to it, and it's almost like our subconscious had worked on the play, and all these new things would start to happen as we re-entered it. And I'll never forget the last performance we did. It was in Chicago. We didn't know it was going to be our last performance. We thought we were still going to go to LA, but we didn't. And in Chicago, I remember Uta came off the stage, the last performance, and she said, I don't know what line she was talking about, but she said, "Oh, now I know how to say that line." And we had done this play for, almost a year. Yeah. And I just found that so thrilling that she was still finding new things.
She was still evolving the character.
Yeah, that was very inspirational.
After doing these 2 shows, you continue to have a friendship with my grandmother.
Yes.
And how was that? I mean, how did it go from, being colleagues, performing in 2 shows, to now being friends? Was there any difference in the 2 different worlds? Did it become more personal?
She was always sort of my mentor, but when you're working with somebody, you also have to have some sense of equality, because you're sharing the stage. You can't be too intimidated by the person you're working with, right? So I always kept trying to say, okay, we're just a bunch of actors. But after that, she became even more of a mentor, because I could call her up with problems or dilemmas I would have with other roles. I remember calling her from the Guthrie Theatre in Minneapolis when I was doing Hedda Gabler, and I was kind of struggling with it a little bit. And I called her and I said, Uta, I just, she does this and she does this. She said, "Oh no, Laila, you have to say I, because you are Hedda. Now you can only speak in I sentences, and you're already working incorrectly. You have to make it I." So she was just so great at helping you in a time of trouble. I remember when I did Streetcar Named Desire at Steppenwolf, and I had some vocal problems, and she commiserated with me because she had done the role and said, "Oh yes," she said, "I know exactly what it feels like to do the entire role on 2 notes of your voice." Like, "I have always depended on the kindness of strangers," because you have so much vocal fatigue that you really have no more notes left. But she was always very encouraging and playful, and always gave you something to strive for and something to hang on to kind of get you through a problem. So I always loved that about her. She was like my artistic, mother. And when she passed, I was very bereft and have not found anyone to replace her in that way. And it's sad when you lose your mentor, because that person can help you so much.
Yeah, I always ask people, and I'd like to ask you, what is a favorite story that you have that you shared with my grandmother that you would like to share here?
Oh, I mean, there.
Do you have one in particular? Because I know, knowing who my grandmother was and how funny she was and how stories.
We would like, after the show, we'd want to go out and have a drink. And because I was once again struggling with vocal problems, I'd say, "Oh, Uta, I can't drink alcohol tonight. I've got to drink the chamomile tea." And she'd go, "Oh, God damn it, Laila, have a proper drink." She would want me to have the sea breezes. That was her thing. And she was just so irritated if I wasn't able to sort of join in for, a cocktail. But I don't know what else. We did have one moment we were fighting about something, and it was a little tense for a week, but finally in the end we worked it out, and she was very sweet. It was a line that she took out of the play, and I didn't want her to take the line out, and so we didn't speak to each other for like a week. We did the play, but we didn't talk to each other the whole week, and it was so painful. And I felt so sad that we had gotten to that point, and then Billy Carden called a meeting and we worked it out. And she said, "Laila, I've got 40 years on you and I don't like that, but you got to listen to me when I tell you something."
She was a force, and she was, very opinionated and very, very strong-willed. And it's, I mean, I have so many stories, but when she didn't want to talk to you, she let you know. And
yes, when you say that she's fierce, and but she had a way of expressing anger where she was angry and it just kind of flowed through her, and then she moved on. Or the next minute she wouldn't be angry. And I remember coming from a perhaps more repressed household where we didn't express a lot of anger. She once told me, she said, "Laila, anger has a really good use in life. You should tap into your own anger and really let it out sometimes." And I'm like, "Oh God, I wasn't raised that way. I don't know if I can do that." And she said it can be very, very useful and productive. So that was sort of another lesson I got from her, just how to go through life, much less acting on the stage. She's such a zest for life.
Growing up the way I did with her, got so many lessons, not just in, watching her perform, but being her granddaughter, and also cooking. And you talked about going to Montauk. I mean, that was I don't even have a word, because being in that home and sitting and watching the ocean, and she would have her sea breeze. So
it was a beautiful, and as you say, simple place. It's so wonderful. And I can only imagine the friends that you had out there and the dinners. And yes, I remember Uta, after Mrs. Klein, Sunday night, they'd have the car revving outside, and she'd jump in that car and they'd go, and she'd go there every day off. And I was very honored to be invited to go out there with her. I really had a nice time. And her cooking, I mean, all her I have her cookbook, and
what's your favorite recipe?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I'm not. I have to be honest.
Okay, I like to ask people, because I have a few.
Oh, what are your favorites?
It was my great grandmother's, and I can't pronounce it correctly. Fleur, and it's like raspberry compote with cream on it. That one. And then she would also, it was the simplest of things. You would just take a peach, you would slice it in half, and you would pour heavy cream, and that was dessert. It was so good.
That sounds amazing. So, I remember I used to be astounded between the matinee and evening. She would always go home and have a steak. She'd say, "I'm going to have a steak and baked potatoes." And for me to eat a steak, I wouldn't be able to think afterwards, much less do a show. And I was always amazed that she could put down that steak and come back and do the evening show Yeah.
She liked rich foods. There's a recipe for cheese balls in the cookbook.
Oh.
And she would make those, and then she would have those, I know at times after certain shows, and she would just heat them up. Those were also really good.
They were.
But you talked a little bit about, towards the end of my grandmother's life. And, she had the stroke. And did you visit her at that time?
Do you know, I only saw her the once.
Okay.
It was a lot of people were there.
Okay.
And she was in the bed in the living room area,
Okay.
or kind of a side room. And I felt very badly because I'd kind of lost touch with her towards the end.
Okay.
I know she was involved with doing a play with David Hyde Pierce, and I'd heard about that, and maybe I'd talked to her about that briefly, but I didn't see her as regularly as I now wish I had. But I did get to see her, but I think already at that point I wasn't sure if she knew who I was at that point.
Yeah. I just want to share this. I remember when she was no longer around and we were dealing with the apartment, and my grandmother, thankfully, was very organized. And, I don't know if you remember this, but we had, said you could come in and see what was available.
Yeah.
And I remember that you wanted her makeup case.
I still have it.
And it has her initials on
Her
it.
initials. Yes.
And I wrote it down who got what at that time. And I still remember that you wanted that. And I thought that's a really special piece. And I'm glad that you got to get it.
Yes. And when I open it, I can smell the powder.
Can you really?
Yeah. You open it and the powder that's in there, you can smell it. So it's like smelling Uta,
Yeah.
And I remember I also took a couple of tablecloths that she had done the embroidery on, white tablecloths that she had done red stitching on. And then I got the most amazing gift from Uta when the Christmas that we did Mrs. Klein. She brought a bracelet for Amy Wright and a brooch for me, and they were both pieces that had been given to her by Eva Gallienne, who had worn them in Camille on stage.
That's amazing.
Amazing. And she said it was my duty then to pass the brooch on to some actress, younger actress, when the time came for me to pass it on. So it's like this amazing,
it's a
piece of costume jewelry, but it's so beautiful. And the fact that it had been passed through the generations like that just was like the most astounding gift.
Have you found the next person?
No, I haven't yet.
Okay. Just to have something passed down from that time.
Yes.
And still be holding on to it to the present. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us about my grandmother?
She was just an extraordinary, working with her was a little intimidating because I'd never studied with her, but she told me like day 2, she said, "You're working correctly. This is great. You're really working correctly." And I think a few weeks before, maybe a few days before we actually previewed, she said, "I just have one note for you. And can you stress this word instead of that word?" I said, "Oh, absolutely." And it made such sense. So she was very good at not directing me when she was acting with me, which is must be a big temptation for her. And I respected that and appreciated that about her. And she was just she had such enthusiasm and joy. So every night was just so much fun, so much fun to play with her. And she would give herself, on her little calendar, she would give herself a gold star or a silver star or a bronze star, depending on what kind of performance she felt she had had.
Okay.
And I loved her meticulousness. I related to that as well, this kind of meticulousness that she had. And her work with props was astounding, the way she would deal with props and endow them. I learned a lot about that during that time with her. So many lessons just watching. Oh, there was an amazing point in Mrs. Klein where she eventually she goes over to get a cigarette, but you see her clock kind of wanting something. She's in the middle of the scene and she's talking to you, but she's sort of looking around. And you're wondering, because she's looking for the cigarette. So she kind of backs it up and starts looking for the cigarette a few lines before actually getting the cigarette, which I thought was amazing. You know, kind of where you multitasking. You're multitasking. You're talking to someone, but you're also kind of looking for that paper clip you lost or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a great combination of things, I thought, as an actress.
I was just going to say, like, that's life.
Yeah.
You know, there's the famous lines of her in on YouTube. You know, if she already knows, she can already see what you're going to do, then she's bored.
Yes.
But doing that, it's just such a natural instinct that it doesn't become boring.
Really taught us how to keep it alive for something that you do time and again. Now, granted, the play is also very good. I mean, with a good play, there's always something more to discover. With a bad play, it's not always the case. But Nicholas Wright's play was wonderful.
It's a gift to be able to talk to you about this, and for you to share these stories with us. And thanks for giving us some of your time.
It's so lovely to remember her and to pull my thoughts back to her, and how appreciative I feel of that time together and everything I learned and everything she gave me. And I miss her.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure you do too. What was her birthday? June
12th.
Okay. See, my own mother is June 1. That's another synchronistic thing where there was a mother thing there that was very the same. June 12th for you. For her.
She was
Gemini.
Full-fledged. She was 100. She was 100%. She was 100%. But thanks for doing this. You know. Thanks for
God, my pleasure. My pleasure.
If you like this podcast, please feel free to share this with your friends.
Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more stories on the professional and personal life of Uta Hagen and Herbert.